everybody. How are you? Happy New Year. I'm Holly Burns of Holly Burns Psychic, and today we're going to answer your questions about 2021. When I was doing my first video about 2021 from the elders, I was thinking to myself, you guys probably have some questions that you want to ask as well. So I kind of did a part two and gathered up your questions. And so that's what this video is. And for those that don't know me, I'm a psychic medium, which is just fancy words for what everybody is on the planet. We're all psychic and we're all mediums. Medium just means you speak to souls that don't have bodies and are dead, they call it. But really, pretty much using, well, I guess you're right. The elders just said, well, no, there's a lot of psychic stuff that happens between two live people on Earth too. Definitely. So, we're all mediums too, because we all listen to our spirit guidance and God's guidance, and we know when dead loved ones are around us, and we get their messages, and so we're all these things all day long. But I specialize in it and work real hard at my skills. So that's why the people say we are that, because it kind of just means that that's kind of what we do for a concentrated focus in our lives for others. So I do that. And welcome to the channel. So let's get into it. So today, the subject matter we're going to cover for the questions is, let me see if I can remember it by heart here. It's going to be questions about the unrest going on. What's the most critical focus that we need to have in 2021? Does meditating help anything? How can we have an individual impact on what's going on right now on the entire planet? And questions about natural disasters and negative doings of people, and if that's going to start peaking and getting worse, and if that's going to coincide with the Great Awakening or not. And when will disclosure about ETs happen? And some of the other ones, some stuff about the markets, what they're doing and what they're going to do, the stock market and how that coincides with the economy and how it's not coinciding right now with the economy, things like that happening, and some questions about student loans. So let's get into it. All right, our first question is from Susan. Thank you so much for asking the question, Susan. She said, sorry about the sniffing there, just for 1 second, just felt like I needed to sniff. Oh, I hate that. Okay, I won't do that anymore, hopefully. All right, Minnesota weather, Hey, it's warm today. It is 7 degrees out right now. We're having a heat wave here. All right. So Susan wanted to know, what is the most critical focus to have moving forward into 2012? So the elder said back to her, the most critical focus is to have the focus that everything's going to be all right. Can you feel that serenity? Can you feel that calmness to that vibration? That's the focus. Focus on, everything's going to be all right. So if you keep that focus, and they kind of showed me like blinders on, you're just focusing on that versus getting distracted by all the unrest all around you. That will really help create more of the serenity and peacefulness on the planet. The more we stop and be distracted and go over here and pay attention to other people being unrestful, that creates more of that, because what we think about for more than 16 seconds starts becoming physical reality. So they want you to really change your focus from fear to it's going to be all right, because they want to let you know that it is going to be all right, that the planet is moving fine into the Great Awakening. And the Great Awakening means that people will be more in an understanding of what they really are in these apparatuses we call physical shells. And they'll really understand our consciousness and what to do with it. And they'll be vibrating on a higher level because of that. And so then because of that, we'll also transcend a lot of things that are currently going on, like violence and war and sickness and poverty. We're going to work all that stuff out. So that's the other side of this. And they want to know that we are definitely going to get there, and that's coming really soon. So don't be too freaked out about the tumultuous that you see happening around you at the time. That's just ascending through turbulence. So people, when they change and shift, some people kind of burst out and dump everything, and then they can get lighter and they can feel better and they can release that resistance they were holding on to, and they can start vibrating at a higher level. So that's kind of what the planet's doing as a whole right now, because so many people are getting to a higher level right now at a quicker pace than has ever happened on the planet. That's causing other things to be kind of squeezed out too, because everything must ascend. We can't have really, really low and really, really high at the same time going on the planet. It just doesn't really work that way. So the lowest of the low has to rise in order to stay on the planet. Otherwise, they'll die and they'll be killed in some freak accident, or they'll leave the planet in a violent way or whatever. So when we get this real big discord and vibration, the lower people can go willingly and calmly and go up to a higher level and be up there with everyone else, or they can kind of protest and put their feet in the sand and try to keep their old ways. And so a lot of that's going on right now. A lot of people are trying to keep their old ways and they don't want to rise up to a higher level of consciousness with the vibrational shifts of the planet, and it's really required. You really can't, so they feel really unrestful for a long time until bam, they finally go. And so some of them are going to go and some are going to go off the planet. So that's what you see happening, but it's all good because in the end, we're all rising up. And we do this in our relationships with each other as well. It's kind of the same thing. You hold something in, and then bam, it comes out one day and you have a 3-hour discussion with your mate and everything just kind of gets dumped out. That's kind of what's going on. So just keep your focus on that everything's going to be all right, and that can have you weather everything around you in a more calm, level-headed focus, because that's going to really help to keep you high and will pull them up faster versus you going back down to their level. We don't want higher people going down back to the lower level, because that just makes more turbulence and makes everybody have to go through it all again. Okay. Then she said, what can I do as an individual to impact what's going on the planet? And they said, wow, that is everything. That is absolutely everything. That is the ground zero, most important, because in order to get to the golden age, everybody must be at a high enough consciousness for us to create that reality. So every single person's individual consciousness adds up to the collective consciousness's vibrational frequency. So if we have 3 high people and 2 really low people, we're going to be at an average of around here. So everybody needs to work on their own individual vibrational consciousness, which is keeping your thoughts high, feeling good. And what that means is that your heart and your mind are in homeostasis or in alignment together. So they're vibrating at the same frequency and they feel in agreement. If you're living your life in discord where your heart's calling you to do something and your mind is saying, I can't do that, I can't go there, and then you feel pain and agony in your heart and everything's kind of discombobulated between your heart and your mind, that's going to cause more turbulence and keep the consciousness of you at a lower level, which holds the whole planet's consciousness down if everybody's down here. So the more people that get up to here, the more we will call everyone else up, the more the whole planet rises up. Then we get to the level of frequency where the golden age can exist. Get it? So super, super, super important. Every single person is equally important on this planet vibrationally. They said to remind you, the frequency you live on is the one you are contributing to. So they want to talk about that. The reason why they don't want you to look at what's going on with pain and agony. Instead, look what's going on as great growth happening at a quick pace. Because we have 2 snowballs here. This is the snowball of pain and agony, and people down here that are storming the Capitol and being desecrating to each other, and people that are burning each other's businesses down in protests around the country right now. And this is people that are saying they're there come up where it's calm. We can weather this. Let's get through this and understand that all we need is more love and all this will settle down. If you're thinking the thought of, wow, I feel so full of pain and sadness and despair right now, what's going on with the country, and you see it as going down like this, ooh, we're diving down, and you're looking at the slope and you're thinking what's going to be coming in the next couple years, you're going to be adding snow to that snowball. So you're making this snowball bigger. So you're making us have to weather more of it, because you're creating more episodes coming in the future that are going to be of that type. And then more people are going to look at them, and more people are going to feel sad, and then that's going to grow, 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 grow. So we're never going to get out of that loop. If you are over here understanding, you always need to try to see everything in life from the perspective of what source sees it from. And source doesn't see negativity because source can't vibrate that low. The higher you vibrate, the less possible it is for you to feel negative. So if you find thoughts and emotions and perspectives that keep you up here, you're going to add snowball to that side. And are you going to add snow to that snowball? And then this one's going to get bigger. And what happens when this one gets bigger? This one melts away and isn't created anymore. So that's why it's really, really important for our own individual consciousness and our own focuses. So really good questions there, Susan. Thank you so much for those. Those are really great. And they said, everything comes from the collective. Then she asked, does daily meditation help? And what important intentions would there be to hold? They said, well, daily meditation sets your frequency, which is really, really good. Anything you do, though, that sets your frequency high is just as good as meditating. But for some people, it's a really good tool because they can drop all the resistance in their lives and they can really get up to that high frequency that they don't normally sit on all day long. Because in order to have a successful meditation and receive messages through meditation, you've got to be vibrating pretty high and have your baggage and resistance inactive at that moment. So it helps people learn what it feels like to be up high on a high frequency. But you can get the same thing from going for a jog, from painting, listening to music, enjoying nature, going for a sailboat ride. So all the things that feed your soul are really important to do. However, one thing that's kind of nice about meditation is that, I'm trying to think what they said about it now. One thing that's really nice about meditation is that I think they're just saying that you can try out something new that vibrationally that you don't usually ever even go to. You can really set yourself, you can really soar high without any distractions. And when you wake up from your meditating and you get done with your activity that just fed your soul, you need to try and continue that frequency longer into your daily life. So that's what's really important, is to let it roll over. When we feel high from taking a vacation, then we come back home, we feel that high from the vacation for several days after we get home again, usually. So it's the same thing. Do some things during your daily routine that make you feel real high on your high flying disc, as Abraham Hicks calls it, and then try to continue that perspective and see if you can go through life without letting life pull you back down under again. And when you do feel pulled under, do whatever you need to do to get back up there again. And so all those things are really, really important and helpful. And they're kind of telling me now about how when we meditate, how we kind of join in with the collective and we feel that feeling of oneness with other vibrational souls on the planet many times. And so that's kind of cool about meditating, is that you can do that more. And sometimes when you're doing something that's just a solo thing that feeds your soul, maybe you don't really realize how connected you are to the rest of the universe. So there's different points about different activities, but really the whole point is to get on a higher vibration and sustain it. That's the most beneficial thing you can do, is when you walk around every day vibrating at a higher vibration. That is the most important thing. The longevity of it, not the short-term high frequency of being in meditation, but the long-term benefits for your consciousness. And she said, is there more I could do? And they said, well, we can all vibrate higher. The higher the consciousness, the higher the frequency of the planet, the higher vibrating reality is created. So they said that's pretty much, just keep your thoughts high. Oh, and they also said, recognize your true gifts. In 2021, they want everybody to focus on what are your gifts and to really focus on them and don't shoot yourself down. A lot of people kind of discredit their gifts and they don't really put a lot of credence into them. They said, do not squander your gifts, or do not consider them mundane and not a true gift to the universe. It is always the best choice to take your highest vibrating path and really recognize your gifts and really work on developing them this year. That's a really important thing to do. And then she said, I'm so concerned about the planet, but often feel powerless to have a true impact in helping others other than to donate funds as I can. And they said, okay, let's take this phrase of I'm so concerned about the planet. What frequency is that on? They said that that is a frequency of fear. So when you're saying I'm concerned about the planet, that's really saying I'm fearful of some things that could happen to the planet. They said that is your work. They said for this year in 2021, they want us all to recognize if something's triggering us into fear, then that's what we need to work on. We need to work on our fear triggers. And they said it's really, really important not to let fear take us over. They said fear is the strongest human emotion we can feel. And it's also completely unnecessary. But it's really hard to understand that. When we come down into this reality, the biggest thing we have to face is fear. And it is the least thing we should do is feel fear when we're here. And after we die, I've read these really cool books, Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. And they go into great detail about fear and what happens when we fear, when we are in our life and they look back on it after and look back at that fear and what that did to us and what we didn't have to really fear. And oh, it just makes us so mad. We look back and go, oh, I didn't have to fear that. Oh, I could have totally done that better. So I learned when I read these two books in 2007 to try and let go of fear and not be consumed by it, because it does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. First of all, it creates a lower vibrating reality for you and everyone else to have to live through. And it's kind of like we don't know the answers to the test if we're living in fear. So, it's really hard not to, I know, but we don't have to. And the less you fear, the more you get answers. You're on the frequency of the answers. If you're not fearing, you're on the frequency of the answers where they are. So you actually get your answers to your problems way faster, way easier, and way better when we just skip the fear. So super, super important to know. Really big concept there once again. So thank you so much for bringing that up, Susan. That's awesome. So they said really work on our trigger points, learn that fear is useless, doesn't do us anything, but just create things to fear in our reality. And so that's really big. Work on the triggers. And if you need help with the triggers, that's what I do for a living. I help people align their triggers. So, these videos are for the broad perspective of everybody. And if you've got your individual triggers that you can't fix, see me for a private session. That's what I do. I call it consciousness tuning. I help you tune up to a higher vibration, a higher frequency where your triggers aren't there because they can't exist on that higher frequency. So, next question is from Samantha. Will this unrest stop in 2021? They said the growing adversity between the awake and as of yet unawake will continue to grow larger for the next couple of years. So basically that means no, it's not going to stop this year. What that means is the awakened people, if I explained what that is earlier in the video, the unawakened people are going to have tit for tats between them more and more and more the next couple years. And what happens is when you become awake, you don't get riled as much anymore by your triggers. So if you're not being triggered by your triggers, you're able to go through life in the state of homeostasis, which is when your brain and your heart are vibrating on the same frequency. Homeostasis is actually a scientific fact, and it's either, I have to look it up, it's 0.1 megahertz or 1 megahertz or 10 megahertz. I forget the exact number, but it's the same frequency that whales communicate on. We actually have a state called homeostasis, which is a perfect state of alignment, and we can be measured, and that's the frequency that it's on. If you can walk around in that frequency all day long, you're not going to get riled by things that you see, and that's going to create more of that on the planet. More calmness, more serenity, more this placidness, and none of this going on down here in the lower levels. But the people on the lower levels are going to look at the people up here and say they don't care. Okay? So just understand that. They're going to say, well, you don't care at all. You're not empathetic to us. How can you even say anything about it? You don't even get involved. You don't care. You don't know anything about what's going on. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of that going on. And then the awakened people aren't going to be able to get through to the unawakened people and explain to them, hey, you know, this is this and this and this and this, and we have transcended that. And you need to get out of that mode and get up here, because you'll see different answers. You'll see better answers from up here. They're like, no, we have to face this like we're facing it right now. We have to fight it. And now we can get rid of it. Fighting things is not good. Fighting things means we want more fighting. If you're fighting something head on the universe, you're pushing against. And pushing against just makes something bigger to push back at you. So we just keep doing this for centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries. So there's a lot of concepts that are just not completely mainstream yet. And so that's going to create more of that unrest. So please understand that if you're going through that, we can talk about that. We could do videos on that. PM me and say, hey, can you do a video on this issue or that issue, or see me for a private session, and we'll work through that, because there's going to be quite a lot of that going on. They also want to really get this concept across that this is going to cause a lot of adversity too, is that awakened people will understand the concept that hating haters causes more hate. Let's go over this, okay? Hating haters causes more hate. Why? Do you get it? Can you think about that for a minute? Can you catch that? Let's talk about it. Okay, so what happens? Here's our high flying disc frequency. Here's the haters down here that are causing the disarray, that are hating the white people, that are hating the black people, the white supremacists, and they're being so vicious to people on the planet right now, right? And there's pedophiles out there that we're squeezing out. We're squeezing into the public, and we're getting rid of them. And that can alarm us and make us really upset and make us go, oh my gosh, how could this be going on? And then we can immediately get sucked down sometimes to hating them. Well, when we hate them for hating, we get right down and join them on their frequency. Then what are we doing? Which snowball are we making bigger? The low one or the high one? We're making the hater snowball bigger. We're adding to hate on the planet. So don't get sucked into that accidentally and start hating haters. That's bad, 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 bad. The reason why haters hate is because they don't have enough love in their heart. They're not accepting enough source love into their consciousness, to their crown chakra, down to their heart chakra, down into their whole physical being. They've pinched themselves off, as Abraham Hicks describes. I love Abraham. Listen to him on YouTube through Esther Hicks. So when you are full of source love, you allow a ton of love in. When you hate, in order to feel hate and not feel love, you've got to be pinched off and allowing a very little bit of love into your soul. And most people do that out of pain. They feel pain earlier in their lifetimes, and they pinch themselves off a little bit so that they don't feel more pain. But that's the wrong thing to do. In order to get rid of pain, you actually need to feel more love. You actually need to open up your consciousness to feeling more love. Love is the highest frequency of all in the universe. And the more you're on the frequency of love, the less pain you're able to feel, because it's impossible. It is impossible to feel pain if you're on the highest frequency of love in the universe. So the more we're on love, the more we actually love these people. And we understand where they are, and we know that they actually need love. So we call them to Source's love, and we shower them with Source's love. Then what happens? It's like the Grinch stole Christmas. Their hearts grow 3 times bigger, and they understand, and they open up, and they feel love, and then they feel remorse for what they did, and they don't do it anymore. And then they go over to the side of love, and they put snow on that snowball. So this is what needs to be happening on the planet. If we get sucked into going down and hating haters, we're actually just perpetuating the exact thing that you hate. Okay? Really, really big concepts that we must get in 2021 and moving forward, or we're not going to get to the period of the golden age. All right. Thank you for that question. That was great questions, you guys. Okay. So next question is from Carol. Will Biden be able to obtain unity in 2021? Firstly, they want to discuss what unity is and how you define unity. They said, well, I think the kind of unity you were thinking of is actually what they would say is, if you mean that we are all happy with what is going on around us, and then we feel more unified because other people are doing things that we approve of, and then we all feel like we're more together. That kind of unity they call false unity, because they're saying that if we need outside stimuli in order to feel aligned and feel like we're one with everyone else, that's a false unity. You should feel one with everybody no matter what consciousness level they're on, because we are. We are all one. And some people are way down here and some people are way up here, but we are still slices of the same oversoul, which is source, which is God. We are all slices. We were all created from the same oversoul, and we come out of that oversoul and become a small facet of our own consciousness. So God creates our own individual consciousnesses from the giant oversoul of source. So we are all exactly cut from the same cloth. We just have our own individual personalities and our own individual memories, but in the end we all go back and assimilate back into the consciousness of the one. So if we feel like we need to be like someone else in order to feel unified with them, that's actually false unity. But yes, he will improve the false unity of the country for sure. He's already doing a lot of that by saying, I'm the president for all Americans, and I don't care if you voted for me or not, and trying to get a lot of diversity in the people that he's appointing to positions that he can appoint or he can ask Congress to approve. The people that he's putting in, he's trying to get a very big, wide range. And also because he picked Kamala Harris for his vice president, he's also, and what that is a result of us. Beforehand, us have for the last few years have been squeezing out the good old boys club of the rich white male in America, governing all and being the corporate head of everything and running everything, including politics. So that has been changed by us. And so he's feeling that pressure. And where's that pressure come from? Our collective thoughts. So he is a result of where we are. So yes, that will become more unified because we want that and we're creating that. So he knows, he feels it. He's like, I better do that or my ass is grass. He wants to stay president. He's really going to start working on that angle because he knows it's going to make him more popular and it's going to make everything less restful. But that's a false unity. So they want to talk about what really unifying is. Unifying is unifying with your higher self. Unifying, if everybody was in alignment, like we talked about earlier in the video, in homeostasis, then we would automatically feel unified as well, and we would not have the unrest. That he's not going to do a lot for. But they said he will do some of that because he will help people feel better. And when they feel better, that helps them get to a higher level of consciousness and gets them more likely to be able to slide into that state of homeostasis because they're putting their snow on the right snowballs. So in that sense, it helps. But people have to understand what real unity is, and that is when you are aligned with your own self, your own higher consciousness, because we are consciousness in bodies. We only take a portion of our energy down into our body. I never knew that till 2007. And we send about 40 to 60% of our consciousness energy into an incarnation, into our body. And so the rest of that is our own gut feelings. The rest of that consciousness works in tandem with us telepathically and speaks to us through our heart and through our feelings and emotions. So that's what homeostasis is. When we are in alignment with our own higher self saying, yeah, you're doing the right thing. Oh yeah, you're really rocking it now. You're rocking it towards the bestest possible job I could ever find for you on this planet. that's when we're aligned with that, and that's homeostasis. So that's real unity, because from there we are only able to feel unified with everything in the universe, including everybody else, no matter where they are. And we don't care if they're like us or not. We don't need them to be similar in order for us to feel happy about them or happy about the planet. So next question is from Steve. As this world ascends higher in consciousness, when do we see the peak of negative activity rising to the surface? They said there's no such thing as defining something as negative or positive. The earth is neutral, and they don't see it as negative or positive. So they said that it's hard to answer that question, because that question is really basically only answered from your own lenses and the lenses you're seeing the world from. You are defining it as that, but it's not actually that to everybody and everything. So it's really not negative, but you might call it negative. So they can't say when the peak of negativity, because they don't see any negativity. Get it? And they said, as you change and grow with your consciousness, you actually will see things in a different way as well. And you won't even be as concerned about things that you think are negative activity right now, because you'll be like, hey, whatever, I'm up here on cloud nine. And then that creates more of that, and then more of that, and more of that, more of that. And then it helps us help the people that are down here, because we have better answers for them, such as countries like, I believe it's the Netherlands, which have solved their homelessness issue, and they have no homeless people in the whole country anymore. So all kinds of really cool things are going to help the lower parts of our society issues with poverty and sickness, and all kinds of cool things like that will be helped from more people being up here. Because when you're up here, you download better thoughts, you download better answers, because the only answers you can get have to be a vibrational match for the frequency of the thoughts you thought in the first place. So if you're thinking, I don't know how I'm going to fix this is really hard, you're not going to get a good answer at that moment. It's only when you release the resistance on that, and you probably forgot about it for a minute, and you're off doing something else that does raise your frequency higher, or you're just daydreaming while you're driving in the car, boom, source can get that answer to you, and it can get through to you at that moment, because you're at a frequency where that answer is for that moment in time. So the more we're up here, the more we will squelch the negative activity you think that you don't like, that is not something you like. But as I said, it depends on how you look at it and how you define it. They define it as they said for them there's only growth experiences. They said everybody is learning something. When we die and we look back on our life, everybody gets something positive out of their experiences. Okay, so they said also that if you see a peaking of this happening around you, realize that this is a peak of resistance releasing. So that's actually awesome, that people feel better after they release what's holding them down, and they oftentimes will ascend to a higher vibration after that. So I think that myself, for my own personal answer to you, Steve, I feel like from now till 2025 is going to be probably the craziest, tumultuous part of the shifting that we'll go through. And I do think it kind of peaks with people rising in consciousness, because some people, as they rise, they have to go through the turbulence because their fear holds them back. And so what happens, it's like a rubber band getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. Here's source pulling us to the higher vibration. And by the way, they are sending us much higher vibrations through the central sun to the earth right now. And they said they're speeding it up at 10 times the regular rate of increase. So they're expecting us to get used to a certain frequency and then bump to a higher one at 10 times a faster rate than normal. So everything right now is accelerated. So I would expect to see quite a bit of craziness going on. But the craziness just means to me that we're getting closer and closer and closer to everything just bursting out and being to that calmness. They kind of showed me now like a storm. You're going through the middle of the hurricane, and then you get to the eye. And it's just like suddenly it's crazy, 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 and then bam, it's calm. That's kind of how I feel like it's going to be myself. So I would say you're probably right on the money with that. But, we won't call it negative. We'll call it growth experiences, extreme growth experiences happening all around us. Because that's what it is. They said, this is a time of excitement. It's a time of great awakening. You can choose to see things as negative, or you can choose to see them as human expansion at a rate at which you've never seen happen before. So, pretty cool. Like they said, 10 times the normal pace. And I don't know if you understand this whole concept, but Source sends us vibrational energy as a frequency to the planet, sends us energy. And us as human beings, we are like walking, talking satellite dishes. We want to tune, and we do tune to the vibrations around us. We tune to other people's vibrations, and that's why people, when they're mated together, they feel so comfortable together, because their vibrations are probably a perfect match. And people that don't like each other, their vibrations are probably very different. This person's real slow, this person's real fast, and they just cannot meld, and they don't feel good together. Well, what happens when the energy from the central sun comes to the earth is that we all feel that. We're vibrational beings, so we are feeling the vibrational changes and shifts, and it does make us over time meld to the higher frequency. And so we're rising out of the depths. And that's why you're seeing things happening like the changes you're seeing happening right now in the power shifts all over the planet, because the old power frequency is not really going to be able to be created anymore on the planet. It's getting spit out. I kind of think of it like as a vortex going round and round and round and round and round. And some things get sucked in and some things get spit out. And the lower vibrational things can't handle it, and it gets to be so tight, they're like, I can't stay here anymore. They're out. They can't be around anymore. That's what we're doing right now as a planet. They said you can see you can choose to see it as death, destruction, pandemonium, chaos, and the world falling apart. In actuality, this is not the perspectives your higher selves choose. So be very careful to look at things from the perspective that lies deep in your heart. In other words, homeostasis. If you find yourself looking at the planet and feeling a discord between your heart and your mind, and you feel that sword through your heart emotion, that means we are not in homeostasis at that moment, and we need to find a better perspective to see it through. So some choices would be, hey, this is a time of great excitement and great awakening, and I'm pretty excited to see what happens. And this is great that some of these things that are negative are being pulled to the surface, so we can spit them out and get rid of them, and people can release what's holding them back, so that they can join everyone else at the higher frequencies and have a good old time of it in a couple more years. And some people say, the country is so divided, it feels so heavy and dark. I'm scared where we're going from here. Are we headed for a civil war? They can do that kind of damage at the Capitol in one day. What could happen if we really amass an army and they really rise up against us? Are we going to have a civil war? And Source's perspective on that, or our higher self's perspective on that, would be this. In order for the planet to reach the frequency of the golden age, to be created, we must keep calling these souls to the higher frequency at a louder and louder and louder level till they all listen and finally come. I see some are feeling it, but some do not yet know how to react. They are holding tight onto their unserving beliefs. We will just call them louder and louder until they take steps towards the light, or else they will be ejected from the planet. If they resist changing their frequencies, they will be ejected. So that's how they see it. You get it? That's a much more secure, safe feeling vibration than the first example. So make sure you try to stay in the ones that feel higher than the ones that feel trepidatious and full of fear when we are going through all this. In other words, and then Steve's next question was, in other words, when does the trend start appearing more pleasing? And they said, pleasing to whom? It could be more pleasing to you immediately. It's all about your perspective. They said pleasing is basically from the eye of the beholder. For me, I think it's, I just feel like the excitement in the air every day. And I'm like, oh my God, we only have a couple more years left. Things are going to burst wide open, and it's going to be so great. And people have no idea. And there's such big things coming so soon, and they have no idea what's coming. It's going to be unbelievable. That's what I feel. And so it just depends on where you want to see it from. Okay. So understand, they said, understand, humans will be humans. There's going to be all this craziness going on, but we're all souls that live forever, and we cannot hurt ourselves. You cannot kill a soul. So nothing, this is a play. Earth is a play. And so, but they said, but it really matters because this is really important in the whole universe and with the galactic society. But, you can think of it as the fact that we come down here and we can do anything to ourselves, but we never really get hurt. That's what they're saying. Once you get back to your real home on the other side into the non-physical dimensions again, you will realize that you're just fine. You're just fine, and you have all your soul friends, and you're completely happy and content again. So this is all just for learning purposes, and it's actually for fun. Believe it or not, we come to Earth to have fun. We do not come here because we don't think we're going to like it. We come here because we want to participate and grow and enjoy the experience of being here on the planet. Okay. Next question. Oh, they wanted to say this too also for that, another answer for that question. Do you realize you are the ones creating it this way by saying it is such? Okay, so be really, really, really careful on how you define what's going on right now. Really, no, I'm not. I was gonna say, it really ticked me off. I'm like, nope, that's not alignment. Okay, see, that's my own perspective. I was choose to be out of alignment there. But okay, it didn't really tick me off. I just saw it as an observance of uh, people that are unawake yet, not understanding what they're creating. When a few months into 2021, most people decided to say 2021 sucks. And that's what they said for the whole rest of the year. Okay, are you giving that a fighting chance then? Are you thinking that we're going to come up to, you cannot create a wonderful year when you think on a frequency of this sucks. It's absolutely physically impossible, physics-wise. It is impossible. You cannot create this reality from this frequency. So, and I can guarantee you, most people, if they write down a pluses and minuses chart for 2021, are going to have a crap load of pluses that they're not really paying attention to and they're not realizing. And most people grew in consciousness. Most people right now are at a higher level of consciousness than they were before they went through 2021. And they received many, many, many gifts in 2021 from what happened with society. As I talked about, the elders just said, as you talked about earlier in your COVID videos earlier in the year, what did we talk about? We talked about all the things we've been trying to manifest for years that are finally becoming, such as being able to work from home, because it's a big waste of time to spend all our day in the car all the time just to go work in a cubicle on a computer. And we could do the same job at home very, very easily and take care of our children much easier when they're sick and not have to worry about all these things that we have to worry about all the time. So there's so many things. Actually, I see 2021 as a huge step forward in the consciousness of the planet. We're also transcending sickness in a big way because the doctors are working overtime and the scientists, they're working overtime to transcend pandemics, and they're getting there. And we're also becoming, so many more people became aware of plant-based health benefits and what they can do for their immune system. And we're learning this part, and it's just super big stuff happening. So that's what I see happening. And I don't know, 2021 for me, it was a great year. I mean, yeah, we had to deal with the people getting sick, but overall balance, positives, negatives. The reason why people got sick was also, if you can look at that, there's also positive reasons why people were getting sick. It's all for the collective consciousness rising up. So we're just going to fly with that. I'm not going to get into that tangent. Okay, next question. What do they have to say about seeming disconnect between the financial markets and the world economy? How will we navigate through the huge amounts of debt incurred? Well, the first thing they said was that who's putting money into the markets right now? The new generation. The people 35 and under are a huge part of the investing market right now. And where's their vibration? Higher. Are they getting as disgruntled about the short-term effects on the planet? No, they're not. Not really at all. Because, as I told you before, their collective consciousness said, that's not our area. All you guys' bullshit you created on your generation is not our area. They're the generation that is going to finally rid the planet of war and finally disclose that we are part of a galactic community, blah, 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 blah. We'll get to that later in the reading. I mean, later in the, well, the reading that I did with the elders that I'm translating to you. So that's the dealio, is that there's enough people right now on the planet that are awake and aware that they know a good time to get in, because they feel, because in their heart chakra, they're aligned with their brain, which says everything's going to be fine in the end. Get in now, because I feel strongness. I feel strength. I feel a super strong economy out here. And I want to be positioned now so I can ride that wave up. And so these people can feel that trajectory and that future coming for society. So that's why the markets are staying strong. And they also talked about the debt very briefly. They didn't. They don't see debt as we do. They said debt, and they just showed me the emotion of debt. When you look at all the debt incurred, they're like, oh, debt. What is that? It's all it is another tool to feel fear. That's all it is. And so the less you fear, the more everything evens out, and everything is no longer something to fear, and that will fix itself. So as the planet awakens and everybody becomes awakened, that will be transcended and something will be done. They didn't say exactly how, but they said that basically it can't exist on a high vibrational frequency, and that we are the only society I know of in the whole universe that still uses money as a currency. The other societies do not have that anymore, because money is the root of all evil, as they say. People want power and they can get it with money. So when we transcend the need for that, because we have technologies like replicators, which actually exist right now on the planet, that you can replicate anything you want. You don't need to go to the store to buy it. Then you can just devote your life to doing what you want to do. So when stuff like that comes down the line, then a lot of stuff's going to just be not going to be a big deal anymore. So that's all I know. I don't know how, but they just said, they're just kind of like, they're not too worried about it. They're more worried about getting up to the higher consciousness. They said that just holds you down when you look at that in that emotion. So just let it all fly. They're like, just let it all fly up here and see what happens. Are natural disasters a part of this ascension process? Steve wants to know. If so, will they be peaking at the same time as the rest of the turmoil? And they said, be careful about the word turmoil. Because remember, we don't want to use words that make you vibrate in a frequency of fear or unrest. Or remember, don't do anything out of your mouth that makes you feel anything emotionally below a 5. So I would say, let's change that to, are natural disasters a part of this ascension process? If so, will they be peaking at the same time of the great growth expansional activities that humankind will be ascending through? They said, not really. They said that natural disasters are a part of this planet. We're on a very dynamic planet, and the dynamic planet, it's always been that way, and they do not see a direct correlation between more natural disasters happening and the other things. Because they said, remember, the planet is neutral. It is neither positive or negative, and it's human beings that are the ones that are going through all the turmoil. And they said that more destruction on this planet will be caused from man than natural disasters, and has always been. They said warring since the beginning of time has caused more destruction than the natural disasters. And they said man leveling the ground, meaning tearing out the forests, just clear cutting entire forests, leveling the jungles and the rainforests, and polluting the water and the air is way more destructive than natural disasters. Then Steve wanted to know, discuss the extent and influence of aliens on our planet at this time. Firstly, they said, what are aliens? These are souls that we know and love from in between our lives at our real home that have decided to incarnate someplace other than Earth. That's what aliens are. We have to remember, we are all just souls, and we decided to incarnate into a Sasquatch body on Earth, or an Arcturian body in a ship, or a Pleiadian body in the Pleiadians, or an earthly body in the human field on Earth. when we are not in bodies, we have the choice to go anywhere we want and experience anything we do want to experience. And we oftentimes go to more than one reality, many times in our incarnating experiences. So they said that alien could really be your best friend, could really be your best soul friend. So remember that. We are one. And that applies to the entire universe's souls. They don't come from somewhere else. They all come from the same source, Oversoul. And the extent of and the influence of them, there's always been a ton of aliens interacting with us in many different levels, many different ways. We have alien hybrids where human beings have soul agreements from before they're born to participate in alien hybrid programs. And so we have many people on the planet that are bringing down in that, because these are all the ways that we can help the planet to ascend and grow. And we have many influences from that. Also, recent science discovered that the human beings that we came to the planet. We showed up on the planet 200,000 years ago, and we are exactly the same as we were when we showed up on the planet. We are not related to Neanderthals. We did not come from the cavemen. And it is a very much theoretical theory by the people that are studying this, that we actually are implanted here from another place, that we are aliens inhabiting Earth. So everybody's an alien. It's really cool information. So yeah, our DNA is exactly the same as our DNA was from 200,000 years ago. We have not evolved or changed at all. And we also have, is it us that has it? I have to go back and reach it. I learned all this from the show Missing Links on Gaia, by the way. Great show. We have a fusing. I believe it's us. Our second chromosome, I believe, is a fusing. And they said that there's something funky wonky with that also shows pretty strong evidence that we were just created, boom, and melded together with something else that created human beings. And then down we came to Earth. So yeah, we probably came from ships too. And so tons of this going on all over the place. There's many different alien societies. I've studied them a lot. I've worked with them myself. You can learn a lot about that on a show called Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia, which I love. And Missing Links is great. David Wilcock, he's also great to follow. My friends that do a series called Deep Disclosure, you can find them on YouTube, on their website. They are also telling a lot of stories about that. I have several friends that have been on ships. I've been on ships in out-of-body experiences. I worked with an alien. Well, I didn't work with an alien, but one time an alien came down. One of my out-of-body experiences, an alien came down, well, a ship landed, and I was so petrified. I was just absolutely petrified in this out-of-body experience. I was hiding off, cowering down in the fetal position like this. I was so scared. And my friend that I was with, he was completely confident about it. He was like, no big deal. He didn't care at all. And so the ship landed, and out from the ship came an alien, I'll call it an alien, another being, a soul from the universe that had no head. So he was very tall, and where his neck was here, a beam of light, bright light came up from his neck, and there was a black silhouette where his head would be. So the light didn't shine where a head would be, but it shone all around, and it was black right here. And this person was wearing, I believe, like a long robe for clothing. And my friend went over and started talking with them telepathically, like, hey, how are you? Like he knew them, like he was friends with them. And I'm like, what? Okay, well, I guess I can come over. And so then they wanted to give me something, so I came over. So they gave my friend a red stone, a red clear, like seen through like a crystal stone, and they gave me a white stone, which I have since figured out was moonstone. So yeah, they gave us gifts, and my friend, he knew them. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. So, and this was a real experience that happened with my consciousness, but I was remembering it from some other time. It was a remembrance. I was traveling back to some other lifetime or something like that. It wasn't like me in the now, right now. It was me from a different lifetime that I was remembering this happened to me in a different lifetime. So anyway, there's so many things that happen and so many levels of consciousness and layers, you guys. You just can't, you just, in my opinion, you really, pretty soon we're going to get to a point here where you really have to get on board with understanding that we are part of a galactic community. Also, the CIA just released 2,718 pages of classified information about aliens that is now unclassified, and we can all read it. So read and be informed, as my dad always says. So, and how they help us, the extent of their helping us, well, I don't even know if I know that. I don't even know that, but I know that they guard the planet in their ships around the perimeter of the universe so that the other aliens that are not so positive to us cannot come in here and overtake Earth. So we're being guarded, protected. They know that we're going through a great awakening process. The other alien races understand that we are the only species in the universe to get to a level of consciousness called the fifth level or fifth dimension, which is a frequency. So we're bringing our consciousness of the planet up to this level, and no other society in the universe has ever done it and kept their emotions the way we have. Nobody in the planet has the emotional spectrum that humans have. We are the hardest place to incarnate in the universe, right here on Earth, because we have the ability to feel unbelievable despair all the way up to unbelievable ecstasy. And that is incredibly difficult. It makes life very tumultuous. We can call it tumultuous. We can say it makes it a great growth experience, as the elders say. So we are being watched right now very much. We are very much the star of the universe right now. So we have great interest from other alien species that want to see what we're doing down here and what's going on. Most of them have had to let go of their emotional spectrum in order to vibrate that high. So they're kind of more like being on drugs, like you're just kind of like tripped out with your highs and lows are taken out and you're just kind of here. They're more there. And so it's never been done before, and we're going to do it. We are successfully going to accomplish this. So it's pretty big. This is a big time right now. And there's aliens in every place of the planet. Like there's aliens that have ships, bases under the ocean, I hear. And I learned all this from Cosmic Disclosure. And underneath the planet as well, like the science believes the planet is solid and it's big molten to the core, and they say it's really not like that. The elders just want to talk about the moon too. Okay, that's going to be a good one. All right, the elders said tell them about the moon. So there is great evidence that the moon is not really a planet or like a living organic thing. It's actually a created thing, and that there's bases on the other side of the moon as well. And that's why we only see one side of the moon perpetually all the time, because it was put there that way. And you can go through all this on Cosmic Disclosure. It's all there for you, and you can believe it or not. But I personally feel like the evidence is, in my opinion, what I've seen, my own opinion is definitely in the favor of the crazy stuff that people say is actually the real reality. And we're going to find all that out pretty soon. I'd say in the next 10 years, a lot of shit's going to hit the fan around here. So get ready. Okay, next question. Tammy wants to know, I'm wondering when it will come out that we've been lied to and that there's a simple cure for COVID. They said that information is out now. It's everywhere. It's been told publicly by many, many, many. There are many simple ways to treat the disease, thousands of ways it will work. Most of them are preventative in nature, stopping the virus from being able to affect your immune system in a destructive way. Across the world, they are treating this disease in exactly the same way that they said all along, that the elders brought up all along. All last year, they kept bringing up hydroxychloroquine and zinc to me every time I asked them about COVID and treatments for it. And they said now also ivermectin. They said two very effective drugs. They are being sold over the counter in third world countries, and their death rates are like something like 1/100th of America, where it's being sold over the counter. And they don't have social distancing. It's not, they don't have the wherewithal to keep people apart. It's a hot climate all year round, and people are don't even have doors on their houses, and they're in great poverty, and they just commingle all the time. And their death rate is either it ranges from 1/10 to 1/100th of America. And I just saw that on a video from one of America's frontline doctors, Dr. Simone. I forget her last name. But anyway, yeah, there's statistics out there right now. So they said the question is, when will most people listen and believe? Is more like the question. They said all this information has been out since the beginning of the pandemic. And we've also been telling you this since the beginning in all of Holly's past videos about the pandemic. There are many, many people saying the truth publicly. And they said America's Frontline Doctors is one website you can go to for information on that. They said, but the question is, we have to get to the balance of this. Right now, the balance of the planet is awakened people and unawakened people. So when it's still in this area of balance, it's not going to happen. We have to get to the balance of awakened people versus unawakened people, smaller facet down here with a larger band of people up here. Then it'll happen. So not until then. And I did get a sign earlier this year that said 2.5 years for it all to unfold. And I felt like that was 2.5 years from 2020. So maybe mid 2022, something big's going to hit the fan. I wouldn't doubt it. From now till 2028 is going to be one of the hugest timelines that have ever happened in the history of the planet. So I wouldn't doubt it. Then, when I was asking this question for you, Tammy, they changed the subject and pulled out a card about Kamala Harris. And I felt like they were talking about 8 years from now that she will be president. And they said when she becomes president, a lot of stuff's going to change and shift. That's what I felt like they said. So we'll see what happens, but it felt like that trajectory had a lot of energy in it as a great possible trajectory. Yeah. Okay, covered that. All right. And then she also asked, when will full disclosure about ETs happen? My personal opinion on this is it's not gonna come as full disclosure, in my opinion. Okay, my vision on this, my idea about this. When I was meditating, I was given a vision of, it was 10:30 in the morning, it was completely dark out. And I'm wondering, why is it dark in the middle of the day? And then I realized, well, that could be a great eclipse. But it could also be something else big, like the sun burning out and rejuvenating itself and getting I don't know if the same sun rejuvenates or if we get a different sun, but everybody keeps talking about the sun going dark for 3 days and then coming up again. So I think we got some big stuff coming down the pipe in the next few years with the awakening of the planet. And I kind of feel like in conjunction with, if the sun did go out for 3 days, I think that we would have help from ETs from that during that time, that they would, I see a vision of them all over the skies, saving planet Earth, because we would get incredibly cold. We would get so cold in 3 days of darkness that, people would perish. So I feel like we might get outer help. And then we're not going to have to worry about disclosure. So we'll see how it all goes down. It's going to be big. From now in 2028, I feel like big stuff, possibilities in there for sure. So that's my theory. They also want to remind you of the disclosure of the 2,780 pages. It's 2,780, not 18 pages from the CIA that just came through. And remember that this is being disclosed right now publicly on the show Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia. And David Wilcock also talks about it in depth, and the other sources I stated earlier in the video, Deep Disclosure people, and there'll be more and more people coming out. And there's other shows on Gaia too that talk all about aliens. Really cool stuff. I learned a lot. That's how I learned that we are the only race in the entire universe that's been able to get our consciousness this high and still keep our range of emotions. I got that from somebody that was channeling the Pleiadians, and the Pleiadians were telling us this. They are 12th dimension beings, by the way. We are third traveling to fifth. They are 12th. So they're way the heck up there. So pretty cool stuff happening, coming down. They said this, when I was asking this question, they said, there's going to be information coming out that completely wipes that off the table. See? Okay, I just got a twinge up my spine. when I read that because I forgot about this part of the answer. Well, that's exactly what I just said like a minute ago. Like, I feel like there's something that's going to happen that's going to completely wipe it off the table. Like, it's not going to be an issue anymore of disclosure because they're going to just disclose themselves, I feel. But we'll see how it all goes down. And if you want to work more with ETs, and just kind of, they said, first of all, don't give your power to the government and them having to disclose it for it to be a thing. Just leave them in the dust and just keep going with what feels aligned for you, um, in that area. And pretty soon that they'll have to just disclose it because everyone's just going to be like, dude, we already believe that. You're like so out of date, and they'll be like, okay, we got to kind of keep up with everybody here and say, yeah, the gig's up on that. So, just leave them in the dust. Do not give your power to the government anymore because, they're supposed to get their power from us. So don't wait on them. Second thing is, if you want to have more experience with ETs for yourself and see if they're really real, feel free to set your sights on that, set your frequency on that, and go for it. One of my real good friends is, she has a business in Sedona, Arizona. It's the coolest thing ever. UFO.com, SedonaUFO.com is her website. She does UFO tours almost nightly, I think, in Sedona. I don't know with COVID what the schedule is now. You have to check with her. But you can go to the website and you can see unbelievable videos. She has worked with the Arcturians for her whole life, and has a very active relationship with them on an ongoing basis. And you can also work with ETs at night with your consciousness because your consciousness doesn't sleep. Only your physical shell sleeps. And so at night, your consciousness leaves your body and goes and does all kinds of cool things and then comes back when you wake up. And I found myself working repeatedly with the same race of aliens, which are some form of the reptilians, because I've heard, my friend told me all about them actually after I had my experience. I didn't know what they were, but I explained them to my friend. He goes, "Oh, those are the reptilians. They can morph from to a human body to but they really have a reptilian body, but they can give an illusion of a human body. But they always look the same. They're very emotionless, and they're super buff." And they're super Aryan looking, which is like super white skin, and I have a crew cut and super buff and blue eyes. Then I don't remember their eyes being blue, but that's what he said. Then one time, one of them morphed his eyes into snake eye pupils when he was looking at me. He was sending energy to me, to my throat chakra. He was testing me to see if I was ready for a certain level of schooling up there, and I wasn't. And I call him the professor because he came out and he suddenly just shot this ton of energy at my throat chakra, and I was like, "Oh, what are you doing? This hurts. Oh, stop that." And then he stopped, and then he said, "That's okay." And he went away like, "It's okay if you're not ready yet." And I was like, I guess I flunked that. And then I went home after that. I left, and the place I was in was like a conservatory. It was really cool. It was like when you have telescopes and you're looking over to the universe. Do they call those conservatories? It was like that. But I worked with that race repeatedly. They taught me all about energy. They're super energy gurus, and they taught me how to use my energy, not connected to my body, but to do things away from myself with my energy. So they were a very positive influence on me, and I knew they were there to help me positively, even though they didn't have emotions to show me any positive emotions. And one trick they would do to me is they would take my truck. I had just got my new pickup then. This was 2006. I just got my new pickup, and I love my new pickup. They would have my new pickup there, and then all of a sudden my pickup was gone. I'd blink my eyes, my pickup was not there. And I'm like, what did you do with my truck? Give me back my truck. And he was trying to get me to put my own truck back. He was trying to get me to materialize my own truck. Like, you can do anything up here. You're in the astral dimension. Put your truck back if you want it back, But he just didn't answer me. And he just left me to wonder. And I bitch and moan, like, where the hell's my truck? And then in this one time, it was like a parking garage kind of a thing. And then there was a lady reptilian. The only time I've seen one lady reptilian. Most of them are men, but one was a lady. And she was on the phone on the phone because my physical, my lower self couldn't understand that the telepathy could be possible. So I put her on the phone. But she's on the phone and she's talking to the guy that took my truck, and she's like, give her her truck back. She's not gonna pass this test today. Just give her her truck back. So then I had to go down like 3 levels in the parking ramp, and there was my truck. Well, when you go down levels in the astral, you're going down in consciousness. So I wasn't ready for that. I'd failed that test. And so I'm like, I had to, I only believed that my truck was tangible. And if he took it, he had to give it back. Right. So I had to go down a couple levels to find my truck. So yeah, funny, funny to me now. Anyway, they gave me lots of tests like that. Super cool race. I very much thank them for what they taught me. And of course, they can't teach me that in the physical dimension here, so I have to learn it out of my body. But very helpful. So anyway, you could ask to have experiences like that in your nighttime sleep. You could say, I'm ready to experience some things, teach me what I need to know. I'd love to work with you. Or you can say, hey, come to me and show me yourself when I'm out and about in my daily routine on the planet, on Earth. And I'm more than happy to do that. I have a friend that would ask us to see the ET ships, and he saw them consistently. Every time he asked, they would come and show up, and they would come and pick him up. So I have lots of friends that have well, a few friends that have had physical experiences while they are awake, walking on the planet with going on a ship. So I have 2 for sure that have done that, maybe 3 that have done that. So, and 4 because another friend that did it consistently for 30 years. So yeah, lots of it going on. So did I answer the rest of the question? Oh, sorry. We're into the student loan question. One more question here. Last question from Patricia. What will happen regarding the student loan crisis? A lot of people are really concerned about trying to make their payments in this COVID crisis, and Biden has had that on his platform that he wants to forgive up to $50,000 worth of student loans for people. And what I got from that question, I really spent a lot of time on this, Patricia. I was trying to figure out exactly what they were telling me. And what I think I translated from the answer was that Congress is going to bog that down this year, that they're going to go back and forth. There's going to be a lot of back and forthing about it. And they're not going to get anywhere on it because they work too slowly, because they're in session for 2 weeks and they're gone for 2 weeks, and they're in for 3 weeks and they're gone for 6 weeks. So they have this in and out schedule a lot, and they work so slowly because they spend so much time tit for tatting that they're not going to get it passed this year. That was my thought on it. But I don't think Biden's going to give it up. I think that it's going to be a big part of his first 4 years of his presidency. I think something's going to happen with it. But and I did hear that somebody had already introduced that into like a bill. Just in the last couple of weeks, somebody was trying to put that forth. So they're working on it. But they also showed me Biden being distracted. So Biden was, yeah, I said that, but he was over here. He wasn't paying attention to that issue. He was looking over here, and I think it was COVID things. So I think that first and foremost, he's going to be really concerned with getting everything going, getting the immunizations out there, and getting the stimulus checks out. And that's going to take the majority of the first year of his presidency, is what I felt like they were saying. So hopefully we can have something happen with that. I'd be unbelievably thrilled if it happened the last half of 2021, but I'd probably be looking for that more like a 2022 thing. I don't know. That's just what I gathered them saying. So we'll hope and cross our fingers on that. Okay, well, that is everything I wanted to cover in this session, you guys. Thank you so much for participating and giving me your questions. I thoroughly enjoyed answering them. And we're going to do some more shorter videos now coming up with certain subjects, and I'm going to just tackle one question or one subject matter. I have a lot of them lined up that I want to do videos on. And then we're also, this year, we're going to start doing more of my client sessions. I have been recording some client sessions. I just have to get them edited. And then you're going to actually see real clients working on real life issues, and you can learn from watching them. They have generously donated their sessions to the world. So that's going to be really exciting, and that's coming up later this year. So make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss those coming up. And thank you again so much. Have a good day, you guys.